Discovering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.
Welcome to Harry Potter and the Anxious Millennials, a show where we delve week by week into each chapter of the Harry Potter series. Welcome to Working Girl, Ari Slay. She's working. She's jobbed up.
I was thinking of a different type of working girl. I was like, where is this going?
It's giving career. It's giving...
Yes, finally. It has happened. It has happened.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited. But yes, I have a job. I start on Tuesday. I'm very
Congratulations.
excited. Thank you.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you to Nan specifically for her thoughts and prayers. And I'm not being ironic when I say thoughts and prayers for once. Thank you, Nan.
Well, I'm doing well, thanks.
I was just about to say, how's your job?
Fucking Christ. It's like talking to a wall with you. Jesus.
I was literally waiting for you to finish your thought to say, how are you? How's your job been? Now you're in your off season.
Yes, we're past July 4th, so it's like, started to chug down ever so slowly, which is fine. It's fine.
Is that just because people are settled in the summer? They're like, oh yeah, and we don't want to move.
Yeah. Ari, this week we were at chapter 25 called The Beetle at Bay. What happens in this chapter?
Harry. There is a mass breakout at Azkaban. Harry goes on a date with Cho.
Wilder.
And meets the most unlikely unlikely group of people at the Three Broomsticks.
Yes, forms an alliance.
Yeah. Forms an alliance is good. We need the rattlesnake sound from RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah, I don't know how to make it.
No,
what is it? It is a rattlesnake noise, right?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it. There's no way to recreate it.
There's an app where you can download it and you just press the button and it does the sound effect.
Oh my God. Dang it. I wish I would have had it ready to go.
My friend had it at Disney. She would do it all the time.
So the chapter opens with, for a reminder, a reminder from the last chapter, Harry is wondering what made Voldemort the happiest he's been in 14 years. That's how the
Harry
just
ends. Started laughing in the middle of the door.
Yes. So Harry's wondering what made Voldemort that happy. And we find out right away in this next chapter. So Hermione just opens that Daily Prophet and then right there, bam, there's been a mass breakout at Azkaban.
Bam!
Bam! Alexis Mateo. Bam! So 10 high security prisoners have broken out of Azkaban. The most important one, because she does name them, but the most important one to remember is Bellatrix Lestrange. And they think that it's because of Sirius Black, because he was the first person to break out of Azkaban. And also he's Bellatrix's cousin, as we know, and as the prophet in the ministry knows. So they're just using that basically as an excuse.
Do you think they don't actually believe it, do you think? Right?
No, I think because they think Sirius Black is a bad guy at this point. Are you saying, do you think a part of them is starting to think it was Voldemort? They're starting to be oh.
No, I just think they found a convenient excuse to use for the public. But I think internally, you don't.
They know that the Dementors,
right? Because there's no. I mean, well, it's just very telling that they do not deploy Dementors to Hogsmeade later, which we will talk about.
We talk about that exactly. Yeah, no, it's a huge red flag. So. Maybe I'm sure there's a part of that that's true, that internally, I think that they genuinely think Sirius maybe it worked with the Dementors or something. I don't think they fully admitted that Voldemort's back, but the fact that they're Sirius Black is the one that helps them escape. It's the truth of the matter is probably they know that the Dementors have already turned on them. And so they just don't want to tell. Yeah, nothing scarier than that. I'm sorry, the Dementors
No.
have gone to the other side. That's all you needed to say. I would have been like, well,
Right.
say your prayers. Like,
Voldemort doesn't even need like giants on his side. Like he's got
No!
like that's crazy. Dementors?
But do you know what's even crazier to me? I don't think we ever in any of these next books, I don't think we ever have a moment where like Voldemort is like ascending somewhere and the Dementors are like in the ranks of his Death Eaters, which I feel like is such a missed opportunity. Why did she not do that?
Probably because they're too powerful, so it would knock people out too easy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, she kind of shot herself in the foot in that regard, that it's like everyone would just be dead.
Yeah.
Like you just can't how would you control I mean, I guess expecto patronum, but like thousands of Dementors descending upon you,
God.
like you would just be done for. Sorry, I would be dead. My
How
anxiety
do
couldn't
Dementors go to
handle
the
it.
bathroom?
Adam, how do we end up here every time, every episode?
We have to know these things. These
I
are
need
questions.
to know about bathroom habits. So apparently, because this is such like a dire situation, they had to tell the Muggle Prime Minister. And Harry is surprised that they're blaming this on Black. And like once again, Harry, you dolt. Like I was just like, no, of course they are, because that's the only option they have. Like literally what Hermione said was what I was thinking. I was like, it's the only thing they have left, basically, without jumping to the Dementors have like turned on us, or someone is working with the Dementors to get out to get like prisoners out of the prison. So Harry's like looking around after they've read the prophet, and he notices that none of the other students seem to have any idea what's going on. And I just want to say that would have been me and Adam during this time. We would have
had no clue.
No idea.
Because girl, I'm not
15?
subscribing to the prophet at 15 years old. You're out of your mind.
The only thing that we did know who Barack Obama was at 15, and we're very pro Barack Obama, if you remember.
Yeah,
from
but we have
intermission.
television.
But that was also because it was Barack Obama who was the first Black president. So we were just so excited for that. Did I know anything about politics at that time? No, other than
This
just like
isn't even
Republicans
politics.
suck.
This would be like this. The equivalent would be like we would have known what was going on in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, yes.
Like that would almost be
you're
the
right, you're right.
equivalent of
That's
what was
a great-
going on for us. And
Yeah, no.
I don't know. I still don't know.
Yeah,
I
so
know it
just-
wasn't good. I know that.
So I just want to say, honestly, I think, Harry, it's a little strange that you as a 15-year-old, like, are really subscribed and, like, checked into this. I think that it's very admirable and, like, you know what's going on and these other kids don't. But, like, looking around and being like, no one even knows what's happening. Like, yeah, that's the point. They're trying to enjoy their childhood.
Hello? It's funny that you had this now because I have this later when he, after the Broderick Bode thing is revealed, and then he's like, Harry, Ron, and Hermione seem to be the only people that cared about this like random thing that happened at St. Mungo's on page 14 of the Daily Prophet. I was like, what? What?
Like, yeah.
No one knows
Everyone's
what you're
removed.
talking about.
Everyone's
Also,
removed from it, girl.
The way the article was written was like, just this random like happenstance thing happened. It doesn't even lead someone to understand. Like, it doesn't even if you're Hermione, you can put the pieces of the puzzle together. But like, most people would just read that and be like, wow, that's crazy that somehow Devil's Snare got to this guy. Like, that's a wild thing that happened. They would think what Ron did and be like, oh, some dummy like accidentally sent the wrong potted plant to this poor man.
None of them know this person personally. And so why it'd be like, oh my God, that's awful. But that's kind of all you say about it, because there's not like a direct connection to the person.
Right. It would be the same as like, when they saw Broderick Bode get the fucking plant, they were just like, okay. Like, they didn't have any reaction
reaction. Yeah.
And so it was funny for him later to be like, no one is talking about Broderick Bode. And I was like, who would be?
You weren't even talking about Broderick Bode a second ago, girl. Why are you upset? The students sitting around in the Great Hall obviously have no idea what is happening at the moment, because none of them have a subscription to the Daily Prophet, as they shouldn't. But however, the staff table They clearly know what's up. And I would just like to say, yes, Harry, because they are adults who are contributing to the wizarding world. Like, it's just
They're paying taxpayers, Harry.
yes. Like, literally, there are like 3 members of the Order of the Phoenix right there in front of you. So
They are paying that council tax, honey.
Yeah,
Penny.
yeah, they are paying that council tax. That's right. So, as Adam mentioned, Broderick Bode was discovered dead in his bed, in his hospital bed. He had been strangled by the plant that was gifted to him. And it's interesting that this plant was gifted to him right at the time that he was regaining mobility and like the ability to speak. Interesting. So then Hermione points out that he was in Lockhart's ward. And she's like, oh no, this is murder. Like they definitely knew that plant was Devil's Snare. There's no way.
No one would misunderstand gifting that. Yeah.
There's no way that you could put like Devil's Snare in a pot and it not essentially be like flailing all around trying to kill you. So
I went back and read the section because I was like, wanted to see. There's 2 parts that Broderick Bode is mentioned. It's mentioned when a man with a trumpet horn, or like a ear trumpet to listen, checks in at the front desk the first time they go to St. Mungo's, and he asks where Broderick Bode is, and then the receptionist tells him what ward he's in, or what floor he's on, or whatever.
Yeah.
Then the next time is when we see Broderick Bode in the wing, and the nurse is like, first of all, the nurse is just sharing information. There's no HIPAA.
Know, yeah, no.
No
what is that?
HIPAA.
Yeah,
not going on.
Well, they don't have
HIPAA
HIPAA here, but they would have like an English equivalent of that, or a British equivalent of that.
Not in the magical world. She's just sharing information about this poor man's health.
Girl, but does that surprise you at this point? Like with all we know? Yeah, I'm like,
the wizarding world is a mess.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's getting better, but he's starting to learn to speak, but it's a language we don't recognize, is what she says. And then she brings in a gift for like the
dog lady. Agnes.
The dog lady, Agnes, and then she brings in the plant, and it mentions that the like, I don't want to say tentacles, but like
it's like
the leaves or whatever are swaying.
Yeah,
it does mention that.
Yeah. So
to be fair, the last time they were in Devil's Snare, though, which
it was
book
huge.
1, it was huge,
and it was like pitch black.
Right.
Yeah, so I had that same thought when they were like, we should have recognized it. I was like, girl,
Devil's Snare hates
sunlight. Which is also weird because didn't they put the Devil's Snare on the windowsill, Adam? Excuse me. Wait a minute.
Excuse me, Joe.
Adam, if that is true, did they put it on the windowsill? Or no, it was next to his bed.
It was next to his bed, and I think he was the furthest from the window.
Okay, never mind. Okay. So
you get off this time, Joe.
Yeah. We'll give you a break this time. So Harry then out of the dusty corners of his memory remembers that he actually met Bode, and I was like, girl, I don't know if I would say met, but like, okay, it's like that. It's like a thing where people will be like, oh yeah, I met so and so, and it was literally just like you were standing next to someone that talked to someone.
It's the equivalent of like trying to explain there's someone you know and have a relationship with, but you're not friends, but you don't want to say acquaintance. So you're like, it's just like a person.
But it's not even that, Adam.
He didn't.
There wasn't a moment where it was like, oh, Harry, this is Broderick Bode, right? Unless I'm like, I don't remember that happening. I'm not trying to like drag Harry, but let me see. Oh, Department of Mystery. Oh, okay, I found it. Okay. Morning, Arthur. He said in a, oh my God, sepulchral voice. I have no idea what that word means at all. A sallow-skinned wizard with a very mournful face got in. Don't often see you down here. Urgent business, Bode, said Mr. Weasley, who was bouncing. Oh, okay. He kind of introduces him a little bit. said Mr. Weasley, who was bouncing on the balls of his feet and throwing anxious looks over at Harry. Ah, yes, said Bode, surveying Harry unblinkingly. Of course. Oh, but Harry, no, sorry. You don't get to say you met him because Harry literally says Harry barely had emotion to spare for Bode, but his unfaltering gaze did not make him feel any more comfortable. Harry, you don't get to say you met him when you were like annoyed at him for looking at the nerve
Also,
of
it's
this
bold.
boy.
It's very bold to remember that his name was Bode from like that brief interaction.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
I wish she had included like Bode's picture in the Daily Prophet, because then maybe I would believe it a little bit more.
Yeah. But being like, the fact that he didn't recognize him when they were in the hospital wing or
Hello?
anything. Like, I'm like, you should have known then if you were very distracted by that person. Anyways, yeah, Harry, you don't get to say that you met him, girl. No.
My
So
good
Harry
Judy,
says-
Broderick Bode.
Yeah, his bestie Bode. He remembers meeting him on the day of his tribal. His trial.
I think it's sepulchral.
Oh, sepulchral.
I don't know what it
Thank
means
you.
though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard that. I've never seen that word.
I've seen. Let me see. I'll look it up
Yeah,
while
what
you're
is it?
talking.
Sepulchral. Ron
Relating to a
this
tomb. Relating to a tomb or interment. Interment. Gloomy, dismal.
dismal. Okay.
Gloomy.
And then when Harry says that he met him, Ron's like, "Oh yeah, my dad talked about him. He's an unspeakable." And then pretty much right after this, Hermione gets a letter and she's like, "Ugh, I have to go. I have to be somewhere." And they're like, "Okay." And then Ron's like really annoyed with her because he's like, why did she just do that? That is so annoying. And I just want to say, I agree with Ron. I hate when people do this. Adam knows it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate it. Just say, I'm going to send a letter to someone. I'll tell you about it later. That takes you not even 3 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Wow.
All you have to say.
I can't believe on this podcast, Aria's dragging Hermione.
It's the only time I've been upset with Hermione, okay? Probably the last. I like
also
that
didn't-
she's like, I'm the only one. Well, it has to be me. I'm the only one who can. And then like dashes off. I was just like,
I didn't like that all of a sudden Ron's like, oh yeah, I remember Broderick Bode. He's an unspeakable.
oh
And
yeah,
was
I
like,
know.
What do
That
you
is a bit.
mean?
That is a bit unbelievable that he was like, oh,
All
yeah,
of a
my dad-
sudden?
Yeah. My dad talked about him. Oh, yeah. It's very convenient.
Ugh.
So Ron and Harry are on their way to class, and then they say hi to Hagrid on their way, and then he kind of lets slips that he's on probation, apparently. Which, I mean, we knew was coming to a degree, but just the fact that it like actually happened. And it seems like Hagrid is kind of like feels a similar way, like he kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah. But Hagrid needs to get his head in the game. He's busy with some.
Yeah, he's distracted
We
with
don't
something
know.
else. Yeah,
We have no idea what he's
know. Yeah, we
distracted
don't know
with.
what's going on, but something's going on. So as the day goes on, the story of the mass breakout makes its way across the school. So everyone's talking about it, which like is a normal way for something to happen. Like that as the day goes on, it's like, oh my God, did you hear? Like all those crazy people escaped from the prison. Like that's nuts. And then poor Susan Bones, who had like, it was like an uncle and aunt and her cousins were all murdered by some of the prisoners
Lord.
that have escaped. She was like, wow, it sucks. Like I'm kind of getting an idea of what it's like to be you, Harry, and this is not great. So Harry makes a note that he's noticing that people are talking about him kind of like in a slightly different way because he's used to people like whispering about him all the time.
Being loony.
But he's observing that something about the way people are whispering about him is different. So he's like, something's changed. And then he's wondering if maybe people are starting to doubt the story that the prophet has put out there. Because he's like, are you gosh, why?
Yeah.
Gua. Wait, is it
It's
gua sha? Gua sha.
Gua
Gua
sha.
shaing.
It's my new thing.
Yeah, I know. I love a gua sha. You have to like really concentrate on saying it. Did you get yours from Mount Lai? What's yours
I got it
from?
from Amazon.
Oh, okay. I want to get the Mount Lai one because that one looks the best, but I don't know if they deliver here.
This is actually RJ's. I have a pink one, but it's in the bedroom.
Oh, where was I? Oh, okay. So we're thinking that people may be starting to doubt the ministry, and because they're doubting the ministry, doubting what the prophet is saying. So we also notice that teachers are talking in hushed voices to each other since they can't talk freely in the staff room anymore because Umbridge is there. And there's been another decree number 26. And so now apparently the teachers can't converse with the students about anything other than the subject they teach. Like they're only allowed to talk to them about whatever they're teaching them. Mm-hmm. And so then at one point, Umbridge tells off Fred and George for something, whatever, being troublemakers.
A game of exploding snap.
Exploding snap, yes. And then Lee Jordan's like, that has nothing to do with Defense Against the Dark Arts. You can't tell them off for playing with exploding snap. And then he gets detention, and then Harry notices that his hand is bleeding. So he recommends Essence of Murtlap. And I was like...
We should be recommending talking to any other faculty member about this. Hello? It's one thing for Harry to be like, I must suffer through the pain because I am the chosen one. Lee Jordan does not need to be dealing with this. This is torture.
Yeah. Exactly. Now that she's doing it to someone else, especially, you should be like, I know that's not how your brain works. I understand, but still, tell a teacher. I'm surprised that like Hermione isn't like, I guess maybe Hermione didn't see Lee's hand, but anyway, so Umbridge has basically become a complete control freak. She's just like mad with power at this point. She's trying to control everything. She's trying to mess everything up at Hogwarts. She is very intense about everything.
She's the one that he notices when they're at the staff at the table. She's just like eating her breakfast like nothing's going on. Nothing's going on.
Was she the one that was looking at people though? I thought she was.
Yes. Oh yeah, she was looking around. But she was not engaging in like the Daily Prophet. She was not like... Yeah.
So she's just like, she's very power hungry. It's just her hunger for power is just growing by the day. So it seems like she's probably going to sack someone soon, and everyone knows that it's either going to be Hagrid or Trelawney. It's going to be one of them. So Umbridge is just constantly in Trelawney's lessons, and she's like, she's being ridiculous. She's asking her to predict students' answers before they even open their mouths. She's like demanding her to demonstrate all her other gifts with like the tea leaves and like crystal gazing and blah, 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 all of that. She's
so
basically
stupid.
Being like, do it on command, which like,
right.
I'm sorry, even if someone does have that gift, we talked about this. That's not how it works. You're not just like, tell me what that person's gonna say. Because
that also implies that there's no like free will either. Because like, what if someone was gonna say, like, what if genuinely she could predict the next thing that comes out of someone's mouth? No way for the student to be like, and then they change what they wanted to say because they heard.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
Umbridge was like, yeah,
this is so stupid. I can't believe I'm even giving this
interfere
thoughts.
So that's going on with Trelawney. She's just basically being bullied by Umbridge. And then she also is taken to, we're guessing that she's drinking a little cooking sherry because she smells like cooking sherry all the time. But the good news is that Hagrid has actually listened to Hermione. Surprised it took him, this long, but I mean, he did. So I guess we only knew about one lesson technically. So maybe he did apply it immediately after the Thestral lesson. But
again, not a bad lesson. Shockingly for Hagrid,
yeah,
the Thestral.
A great
it wasn't
lesson.
Even like it started bad and then got better. Like the Thestral lesson was great.
Yeah, love the Thestrals. So he hasn't shown the students any other dangerous animals. They've seen something called a Krupp, which sounds so cute. It's literally just a Jack Russell with a forked tail, like a little devil tail.
I want to see if someone has made...
Oh, yeah. I didn't even look it up. Oh, my God. I bet it's so cute.
Oh, my God, Ari.
Is it so cute? Oh, wait. I want to see. Wait. Okay. Don't look because it didn't pop up for me. Send me the photo. I want to see it. Oh, look at him. He a good boy. He the best boy. Oh, look at him. Okay, that wasn't what I was thinking. I didn't think of a forked tail like that, but that's cute. Oh, we
You thought it was a fork?
Yeah, I was picturing a fork. Like a little,
really?
like devil. Yeah, a little like devil fork. Or like, what is it where it's like a spade on the end of the tail? I was kind of thinking that's what I thought a forked tail was. But that's cute.
Yeah,
but
like
a fork
like
in the
tongue.
road.
Yeah, like a snake's tongue.
Yeah, snake's tongue. Oh, so cute. He the best boy. Okay, where was I? Okay, yeah, so he hasn't shown them anything dangerous. Hagrid hasn't shown them anything dangerous. Oh, wait, undo. He has, however, been very nervous in his lessons, and he's kind of just like lost his nerve, basically. So he's just not performing very well in his lessons. And she's always sitting in on his lessons too, Umbridge. So it's not going very well. And then on top of that, he's also not hanging out with our golden trio anymore. And he's blaming it on the fact that like if Umbridge sees them, then they're all going to get in trouble. So he's just like, no, we can't hang out. So poor Harry. Harry's like, Umbridge is depriving me of everything at Hogwarts that makes my life worth living. Like it's like the Quidditch. He doesn't even have his firebolt. He can't go see Hagrid. Everything is just like bad right now, except for the defense against the dark arts stuff that he's teaching.
Right.
Dumbledore's army, except for Dumbledore's army, the DA meetings. Speaking of DA meetings, Neville has just completely like zoned in on these lessons. Yeah. Like he has been completely changed because of this news of Bellatrix breaking out of Azkaban. And he's working harder than anyone else in these lessons. And he's improving like at an astonishing rate. Harry's like very shocked that he is just really getting better and better every single lesson. Yeah.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Because I thought of this and then I was like, wow, it would have been really fitting if at the end of the book series, instead of Molly basically killing Bellatrix, if Neville did. If Neville did, because like it would have closed the circle. And then I was like, well, I guess none of the students really kill anybody. Like that, she kind of really makes that. She kind of draws that distinction where like the Death Eaters are killing people. But and besides like the situation with Molly, where it's not like Molly says Avada Kedavra, like something just happens and Bellatrix just like explodes. Yeah. We don't know what happened. Anyway, besides that, there's really not an instance in that final. Sorry, we're talking about book 7 right now, so I apologize in advance. But there's not really an instance of like it's a clear like a student has killed a person. The only student that kills something is Neville kills Nagini. He cuts her in half, right? With the sword of Gryffindor. And then I was like, and that's fine because it's a snake. And then I was like, no, you know what? It's not fine because she fucking made her a Korean woman. Yes. She made her a woman, and not just any woman. She made her an Asian woman. I know, Adam. So then I got mad about the fucking Fantastic Beasts series all over again. Over again. I got mad about it. So Harry is, in addition to the DA meetings, he is continuing his occlumency lessons with Snape. And when I tell you that these lessons are a fucking disaster, that is an understatement. It is making everything worse for Harry. He is, not only is his scar hurting him even more, he's getting these weird like twinges of like pain or frustration or like joy, and he knows it's Voldemort. So he's like basically connected to Voldemort even more now because of the whole situation with like going to these occlumency lessons once every week, right? It's just once every week. I think so.
And so I was like, I'm going to go on record here and say that I think this is probably the worst idea that Dumbledore has had thus far. And Dumbledore
stay tuned.
Dumbledore hired Gilderoy Lockhart to work at the school. And what else? Didn't know that Mad-Eye Moody wasn't Mad-Eye Moody for a whole year. Yeah. Also was like fine with like Mad-Eye Moody performing.
Let Harry compete in the Triwizard Tournament.
Yes, let Harry be in the Triwizard Tournament. Just like a bunch of different things that are like already questionable decisions. Like
This is
I still
definitely
can't
not-
believe he, even though it wasn't actual Moody, the fact that he was okay with who he thought was Moody performing the unforgivable curses on students.
There's no way people didn't know that was happening.
No, he definitely knew.
I am desperate to know the conversation when Minerva storms into Dumbledore's
I know.
office and is like, Alastor
What are
is
you gonna
performing
do about this?"
unforgivable curses on the students.
Do
in front of
something
them.
about it. Yeah.
And he was like, I mean, it's Alice. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
That's
it's
his whole
fine.
thing.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Let Hagrid be a teacher. The list goes on and on.
Didn't hire Will
Will
full time.
full-time. I love that we are always in unison when it comes to Will.
Will.
Will, we love you. So yeah, these occlumency lessons are the worst idea that Dumbledore has ever had. He is in Harry is dreaming about the corridor every night at this point, and he knows for a fact that it's connected to his lessons with Snape. And here is another moment where I was a little mad at my girl Hermione, because she said, you just need to try harder in lessons. And I just wanted to smack her. I was like, Hermione, I love you, girl, but like, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do
not
that. And also,
doing
like,
that.
it's not even like in regular potions class, Snape is like explaining how potions work. He will fully be like, here's the potion on the board, do it. That's not.
If you're like Snape is basically like a potions prodigy, right?
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you're not going to be the best teacher. Do you
Correct.
know what I am saying? Like,
Correct.
it's just, I feel like that is very obvious.
Snape honestly should be working for like a wizarding pharmaceutical company coming up with new potions, bottling brews.
Leave-in conditioner, Severus, you need to create it for yourself and then share it with the world.
And then share it with the world. Thank you. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. So Ron, what do you call it when they're Ron's workshopping a theory here that maybe Snape is actually trying to open up Harry's mind.
Open up his third eye. Yeah.
Yeah, his third eye. He's not really trying to help him after all. And Hermione's like, Dumbledore trusts him. It's the same thing that we get throughout the whole book series. Dumbledore trusts him, so we should trust him. And I'm like, okay, Dumbledore trusts him to like not be a Death Eater anymore, fine. You don't have to trust him with teaching Harry this. I don't understand why it's like, oh, well, Dumbledore trusts him, so then he just gets to do whatever? No? We should still have some boundaries in place for Severus, I think. So basically with like homework, the DA meetings.
Maybe Dumbledore is a crackpot old fool.
I'm going to say it. I'm going
to come out strongly on this podcast.
So with the homework and the DA meetings, and then all the occlumency lessons, time is just like flying by. And before he knows it, Harry is getting ready for his Valentine's Day date. Mm-hmm. So once again, Hermione does this thing where she like rushes off without explaining herself. Wow. But she's like,
not a good chapter for Hermione.
Not a good chapter for Hermione. So Hermione's like, can you meet me in the Three Broomsticks later today? And Harry's like, well, I was going to go on my date with Cho, so I don't know. She's like, just bring her if you can. Like, it's fine. And he's like, okay. She's like, I can't explain. Sorry, I got to go. And then just like rushes off. So Harry's like, okay. All right. I just feel like a little bit more, Hermione. Like just a little bit more of like, I'll tell you when you get there. Like I'll tell you today, I promise. So Ron is not going to Hogsmeade because he has Quidditch practice. Is this the moment where you were mad at Harry? Because I was livid.
I get mad at him here and I get mad at him at the date.
Right. Yes, that too. Harry,
he's such an asshole.
I understand that it is not fun that you can't be on the Quidditch team.
because of a decision you made in order to have a fight.
Right. But the fact that Ron is going through a hard time and he's really, what it really sounds like he's dealing with some like imposter syndrome stuff. Like that's what's going on right now. And you're choosing to just be like, well, you're good when you're on form. So end of discussion when like Ron's trying to open up to you and be like, I'm having a hard time. I don't think he's a good friend. He's not a good friend.
He's not a good friend.
No.
We're coming strongly on this podcast to say Harry Potter is not a good friend.
The few times that Ron has actually opened up to him, he just does not know how to hold space for him. And it is so frustrating. And so then they have this frosty goodbye.
He doesn't have this with Hermione because Hermione is exceptional at the thing she's exceptional at. The problem is that she has not written Ron, and that's fine. She's written Ron as a character who is not exceptional in a specific way.
Yeah,
There's not a thing where Ron is the person to go to, except for like Wizard's Chess in the first book, which literally never comes back as a character thing ever.
He
does not go win Wizard's Chess. He doesn't run a Wizard's Chess club. Like he doesn't engage in Wizard's Chess outside of book 1. So Harry has no understanding of like, because he's so good at Quidditch, Hermione's so good at like academics, he literally cannot understand like why Ron can't just like do it, because he is the same as Snape. He's just like just do the Quidditch. Just do Quidditch. Just do it.
Yeah, don't get in your head. Don't get anxious about it. It's like, oh, cool. Okay, I'll just turn off.
That's not helping him.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. It made me so upset. And then just the fact that they have the frosty goodbye, basically, because it's just like, yeah, your friend is... Hi, Friedrich. Look at Friedrich. Hi, Fried. His little eyebrows. So then Harry goes to meet with Cho, and then right away we have to make a note that Cho looks very pretty. Fine.
Well,
she can also just be there. She can just exist. So
I do think she probably gussied herself up a little bit for the Valentine's Day.
Yeah, she probably,
date
because it's Valentine's Day, right, yeah. Right.
Ari's mad that Cho is pretty. It's not a good chapter for women in Ari's eyes.
I just want her worth is more than her looks. That's what I'm saying. She
but
probably
Harry
is very beautiful,
know that.
Cho. But like, what'd you say?
Harry doesn't know that. He doesn't know anything about her because he refuses to ask her about her fucking life.
I know, which is what we're going to get into. Yeah, we're probably going to say the same thing. So
Harry sucks.
Not a good chapter for Harry either. Not a good book for Harry.
Not a good series for Mr. Potter.
So they don't really talk while they're waiting to go, Harry and Cho. They're kind of just like standing in the line, and they do this cute thing where they like kind of look at each other and then they're like, but they don't really say anything. And then they end up passing they pass the Quidditch stadium, and he sees them practicing. And then this is literally my note, Adam. Cho says that he must really miss it because she has awareness and she's observing that he's looking off in the distance and kind of looks sad. Harry, do you see the emotional awareness of this young woman? And you know what? You don't deserve it. This is why him and Cho did not work out.
No.
He is just like not emotional at all.
I'm gonna write a fan fiction of like 10 years after the Harry Potter book series. Cho has found herself a man.
Yes!
And is like getting dicked down every day. She marries Jungkook
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 7 days a week.
Oh my God.
Yes. She meets Jungkook and has a lovely relationship with the JK, the Golden Magne. She is observing that he looks kind of sad. And then he literally is just like, yeah, it's hard, blah, 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 blah. So Cho keeps like trying to talk to him about things. Like she's talking about the Quidditch World Cup. And he's like, oh yeah. And she's like, remember we were there together. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. But yeah, cool. Like, does he also have the memory of a goldfish, Adam? He has to. Like, I'm just like, she's like, oh yeah, we were there. Like, I saw you there. Like, she keeps remembering things about essentially the history of their like interactions. And he's just like, man, Like, he's so annoying. And so Cho keeps trying. She keeps trying she's facilitating the conversation, I would say. Like, she's keeping it going. She's doing the labor of like, okay, yeah, let's like make sure, I'm going to make sure like, you know, we're continuing to talk and it's not awkward, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like so oblivious to this. And I just have to say that there are so many straight men that I have met in my life that are like this. Like, that literally, it's like talking to a wall. And you're just like, hello, is anyone in there? Like, it's just like, wow, I do not miss this. Like, I do not miss this.
It's a give and take. It's a two-way street.
Yes, this is a two-way conversation. And so they walk past Pansy, and then Pansy starts teasing them, and she comments on how Cho doesn't have very good taste, and at least Cedric was good looking, which I was just like, oh my God. This is so uncomfortable, especially when you're 15 years old and someone makes a comment like that. Like, you really, truly just like freeze. Like, you're just like, you don't know how to respond.
Because also, is Harry cute? We don't know. We really don't know.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I always picture Harry as Dan, and I think Dan is so handsome. So, like,
Dan's very
I feel
cute.
like, yes. But I think it's, you know, he's a different handsome than like golden child Cedric Diggory.
That's true.
That type of, you know, he's John Wanu. that's the type of.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not true.
With
I think
glasses.
Wanu's probably more handsome than.
Wanu's so handsome.
Yeah. Wanu's been handsome since the day he was born. So I mean, that's not necessarily the case with Harry, I guess. Harry, once they're in Hogsmeade and they've gone past like Pansy Parkinson and everyone, Harry's like, where do you want to go? And she's like, oh, well, we can just look in the shops. That's fine. And so as they're walking around the shops, they once again see these photos of the 10 escaped Death Eaters because they've posted them up in Hogsmeade. And then Cho points out, as Adam said, once again, she's a smart cookie. Cho points out that there are no Dementors at Hogwarts like there were last time when Sirius Black escaped. And Harry's like, yeah, that's very interesting. Like, very significant. And he's like, I'm really glad there's not Dementors, obviously. But, like, yeah, that is definitely something to be aware of. So then Cho asks if he wants to go and get a coffee. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then she's like, oh, have you been into Madame Puttyfoot's? Oh, my God, it's so cute. And I just want to say the fact that it's called Madame Puttyfoot's is really funny. I don't know why that name, Puttyfoot. Madame Puttyfoot's.
I thought I taught putty tat. I thought I taught
it's like that,
puttyfoot.
exactly. Yeah, a puttyfoot. And so it's like a little cramped, steamy spot. And unfortunately, it reminds Harry of Umbridge's office. And I was like, ooh. But I also don't like that it's like, it's kind of like a gender, like it's very feminine. And that's what he like doesn't like about it. So
I almost brought this up, and then I was like, you know what? It's not. Why yell? Why yell?
Why yell about this?
I got so annoyed. It's fine that Harry doesn't. It's fine that this is not Harry's aesthetic. That's not my problem. My problem is that the way it is written is like anything feminine is like not good in this book series.
Yeah, I know.
Heightened, what we're calling heightened femininity.
Yeah, right,
always
exactly.
like
which I live for,
upon.
Girl.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
And
why I
like-
was just like, it's different that it's the Umbridge, you know, that it was like Umbridge it reminded him of blah, blah. It reminded him of Umbridge's office. Like, I was like, yeah, fine. But like, then when she goes in to describe it, I'm like, Umbridge doesn't have like a patent on like anything that's like girly and like cutesy, girl. What?
Right. And also like the only other, so it's Madame Puttyfoot's. It's,
emotions.
So let me go through this. Emotions. But like aesthetically, it is like book 2 Valentine's Day when he has when like they actually celebrate Gilderoy Lockhart has the whole school celebrate Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Is like the first time that it's like bad. Valentine's Day is bad.
Yeah.
Then the second time is like Hermione getting ready for the Yule Ball. She's like actually putting on like a dress, getting actually ready, and it like is like a point of contention there in at least Ron and Hermione's friendship, but then also it's for a guy that she doesn't end up with, and like then the whole thing is like she really just needed to be herself, and that's why Ron loved her. No, she can also like want to wear a dress from time to time. My God,
She
people
can be
contain
girly. Yeah.
multitudes, and then in this book, I'm fine with like the I mean, I like. That Umbridge's like character thing is like she is like ultra frilly, because I think that's like I think it's like a cool beat that she is like,
well, it's like toxic femininity,
surface level
yeah.
being like very sweet, but she's obviously like deeply
evil,
sadistic.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. But then like this moment, he could have just been like, oh, it was like a really pink. He'd never been in because it wasn't a place that would like really appeal to him. But there's just the way it's written in like you can hear Jo looking down on like
I know
the color pink, and it's like,
yes,
who is this for, Jo? Who is it for?
Just wait until we get into him having feelings for Ginny and like how she writes Ginny. It's like she's like a guy's girl, you know?
Yeah.
Ginny's like a
she
guy's
doesn't have
girl.
girlfriends.
That's what she is.
Yeah.
It's just really it's the way that how she frames it, that like Ginny isn't emotional and Harry likes that about her. I just boo.
It is so weird because her whole thing is like femininity must be protected at all costs. That's why like we can't have trans women in bathrooms. Like it's so, first of all, this argument is stupid from the beginning. But even like matching her on that level, the things you write are reinforce the idea that like men are like better than women in certain ways because like they're not emotional and blah, blah, blah. Like it's so weird to me.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And the only thing like in the book series that women are good for, more often than not, I would say, not specifically all the time, but more often than not, it's like women are valued because they are mothers in this book series. And it's like, we are really just, I don't understand.
Yeah, mothers or teachers, which is essentially like a mother at school. Like, it's like, it's not good.
Parental role.
Yeah.
It reminds me, honestly, this whole thing reminds me of like when you were talking about how Jo is like a pick-me, how it's just like, I'm
convinced.
So different from other women, and that's why I'm more impressive.
I'm a guy's girl. Yeah,
I don't like this emotional stuff. She does not give this to Hermione as a character, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
I would hate reading this book series if there was any bit of that in Hermione. I think
maybe she thinks she's Hermione.
I think the reason she chose specific aspects of Hermione's personality is because of what Jo finds more important about like herself and womanhood and girlhood, but Hermione herself as a character does not espouse these beliefs in like what she says, which I think is like, at least thank God, because this would be as hard as it is to like talk about sometimes, because it is like you're realizing things that you didn't obviously realize as a kid.
Yeah.
If Hermione was also like a shitty person and like looked down on, the only thing that ever happened was that one time where she referred to Pansy as a cow. And I was like, don't do that. But then we realized that like it means something different. That's the only time that's ever happened. And I'm really glad. Yeah. Well, that's not true. There was a little bit of like Hermione was annoyed at Fleur.
Oh, but Fleur. Yeah.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
But even that Fleur was like a whole thing where it's like Vila as a concept.
I know.
Was like,
Vila as a concept.
Women are then their feminine wiles, and it's all about like trickery.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump out the window.
No, I know. It's a lot. Like when you really start like looking into it and all the stuff with like, just wait. I'm already like mad about the stuff with Ginny that we're going to get into. And it's just like,
it's just like a bummer.
Yeah.
Because this should just be a scene in which they're in a coffee shop and they just have coffee. And it's awkward because Harry feels uncomfortable. But there's just this way she writes the location that they're in that I was like, I know you as a person are annoyed by the idea of like celebrating romance and like.
Yeah. This is exactly. Yes. Yeah. This is exactly what people do. And like, I'm sure it was unintentional, which kind of makes it even worse because they do this thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to try and write something that is like, you know, Harry's least favorite place to be. But like by writing it like that, you're writing it that like boys shouldn't like this stuff. And therefore you're like sending the messages to boys reading the book. They shouldn't like this stuff.
Right.
And then you're normalizing it for girls to be like, oh yeah, and boys don't like that kind of stuff.
Pink
so
is
even
a
though I
color.
like it, I
It's
know.
literally just a color. It means nothing except what you put on it as meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
It reminds me of the people who like there are like tweets and like Facebook posts and stuff of women or like parents being like trying to really make sure my daughter doesn't like the color pink. And so we'll like make them like give them toys and things that specifically aren't pink to like steer them away from the color pink. And it's like,
why?
it's a color. What are we talking about? You sound crazy. You sound nuts.
Jeez. So many other things to worry about as a parent.
Gender
and that's what
gender
people are worrying
fucks
about.
with people's minds. It is so
I know.
crazy
Yeah.
how important people find specific gender roles. They really like. I'm mad.
Did you unplug your mic?
No, I didn't unplug it. I just threw it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
We can move on. I apologize for taking us so off topic.
No, it's fine. It is very frustrating. So as they enter the tea shop, it's mentioned that Roger Davies is, when they sit down at a table, Roger Davies, who, if you don't remember, he's the captain of the Ravenclaw Quidditch team with Cho. He is sitting at a table with a blonde girl and they're holding hands and Harry's assuming this is his girlfriend. And then as he looks around the tea shop, he notices that it's full of couples all like holding hands. And so then he's like, oh God, is she going to want me to hold her hand? And I just have to ask this question at this point. Adam, does he even like her? I think he just thinks she's pretty and that's it. Like, I'm like, you don't actually like this girl.
No.
You literally just think she's pretty. Because I'm like, there's no like he wants to hold her hand or he wants to kiss her or he wants to he wants to scooch his chair closer to hers. Like it's all just like that he's worried he's going to do something that's going to upset her or he needs to do something right so that she likes what he's doing. I don't know. Like it's weird. There's no like he doesn't have a thought of like, oh wow, he liked talking to her and now he wanted to like put his arm around her or like anything like that. Like there's nothing like that.
I mean, she's writing it so that it's clear they should not be together. Like she's specifically setting it up so it's like
are not on the same page.
They're not on the same page and like he's so uncomfortable because she seems to be like more versed in this than he is.
Yeah, which she is.
Right.
She has been carrying the conversation this whole entire time. Like up until this point, Harry has not really even initiated a conversation with her. She's done it every single time. Mm-hmm. And so Roger and his girlfriend start kissing. And Harry is just like, oh my God. And then Cho mentions Umbridge and then they talk about it again. Once again, she initiates the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of like dies out because they've already talked about Umbridge, so they can't really talk about that. And then Harry's like, oh, right, I should invite her to the Three Broomsticks. And so he's like, hey, do you want to come to the Three Broomsticks with me? I'm meeting Hermione there later. And she's like, oh, okay. You're meeting her today? And he's like, yeah, but she said it's fine if you come too. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she gets like really standoffish and she's like, what was the word he used? Forbidding. She seems really forbidding. So, which I was like, yeah, she thinks he's meeting another girl. I would probably also be forbidding.
I just don't, there's such a lack of understanding of like he is so inept that I almost am like, how it would be immediately clear. Maybe in the moment you'd be like, oh, I'm just meeting Hermione because you obviously see Hermione as a friend, blah, 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 blah. It's not more than that.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think about it the way she's going to think about it. But then if you,
for a Valentine's moment,
put yourself in her position, which
Yeah,
apparently is
he
very hard
can't.
for Harry to do.
Harry cannot do that.
Harry
I don't
has
think
no
he can.
empathy. He does not have empathy. He cannot
I
see
don't think he
himself from
does.
another person's position. Anyway, if you thought about it for a moment, you'd be like, oh yeah, but it's not anything. And also like, this is my thing that I would say, like, Hermione shouldn't have done. It's Valentine's Day, Hermione.
Yeah,
you should not have been
Hermione,
like,
come on.
end your date quickly so we can have this meeting with whatever.
With Rita Skeeter. Yeah, right. But also Hermione.
And also, if it is this serious, Hermione, you needed to tell him what this was ahead of time.
Right. This is so last minute, girl. There's a moment where Harry like tries to hold her hand, but she like pulls her hand away right at the moment he went out to like touch it. And so then he like pretends to grab, what is it, like the sugar bowl or something?
The sugar, yeah.
And then Cho is now started to watch Roger making out with this girl as the cherub is like throwing confetti over them. It's just like a disaster.
There's one part earlier where the cherub, Harry's like so nervous that he's scared to look at Cho. So he's like looking around the room as if he's like taking it in or whatever. And the cherub throws confetti straight in his face.
My favorite thing was that he looks up and then essentially would have like made eye contact with the cherub, and the cherub would have been like,
I like that it's like the cherubs are not happy. They're just like
deadpan. So then she mentions that she came here with Cedric last year and then asks if he mentioned her before he died.
Oh, God.
And I know I should not be laughing right now. It is literally just because I'm so uncomfortable. Like, Cho just spiraled so quickly, Adam.
I know.
Which, like, she
I
experienced
know.
a very traumatic thing, and that I'm sure she was very much in love with Cedric, and he just, like, died. So, very traumatic for a 15-year-old to have to go through that. I don't think that, you know, I'm not like, trying to be hard on Cho here, but, like, that truly was not, that was such a leap. Like, how did we get there? It was just like, oh, girl. And so then I just said, she asked if he mentioned her before he died. Oh, no.
Oh, God.
And then Harry's like, no, there wasn't really time for that. And I just was like, oh, like it's so traumatic. The whole thing was just like so traumatic. And like, then he's like, do you get to see a lot of Quidditch over the holidays? And then he like looks into her eyes and realizes that she's crying. And then he suggests that they don't talk about Cedric right now. He's like, let's not talk about Cedric. Let's just talk about something else. And then Cho responds by saying she thought that he'd understand that she needs to talk about it. And she thought that he also needed to talk about it because he saw it happen. And then Harry responds in like the worst way possible.
Oh my God.
By saying he does talk about it to Ron and Hermione, to which Cho's like, oh, okay, well, if you can talk to Hermione Granger, then fine, that's fine. You can just go and see Hermione Granger if that's what you want to do. And Harry's like, what is going on? Like, he's just kind of standing there, like, I'm imagining, like, slack jaw being like, huh? Because he just has no idea what is happening. And then she's like, well, if you're going to go see, why did you ask to meet me on this day if you were going to go and meet her after me? How many girls are you meeting today? Because she's, like, just spiraling, thinking he's just seeing a bunch of other girls on this day. To which he finally, his two brain cells have rubbed together and he's finally figured out what's going on. And then he's like, oh my God, no. And like laughs, to which just completely sends her over the edge. And she's like, okay, goodbye, and leaves. And then he's like, oh my God, okay. I can't believe that just happened. So then he like throws down like the money for the tea and then he leaves. And then as he's leaving, yep, here we go. Here we go. As he's leaving, he has a little inner monologue. Well, externally, he mutters women under his breath.
Which I was like, okay.
I know. Are we for real? And then he wonders why she always wants to talk about Cedric and why she brings up a subject that makes her act like a human hosepipe. So I'm just gonna, from this chapter alone, I can deduce that Jo does not like hyper-femininity. She does not like emotion or like women being emotional.
Yeah.
Sees that as a weakness or like an annoyance. And just the fact that a human hosepipe was like the word that was used. Because I'm like, you're writing this about Harry. Like Harry could have been walking off feeling defeated because he's so upset that it went so wrong. But instead, he's mad that she cried. And then, sorry to fast forward ahead, but like once again, one of the things that he says he likes about Ginny later is that she's not overly emotional and she doesn't cry. That's literally what he says. I think it's in book 7. It's so horrible.
Insidious. I hate it.
It's
so
gross.
much.
It's gross. So after that horrible inner monologue where we all hate Harry, he walks into the Three Broomsticks and he sees Hagrid sitting in the pub. So he goes over and sits next to Hagrid. And he does notice that Hagrid has 2 fresh cuts on his face and several new bruises. So then Hagrid's like in a really weird mood and he's like, we're in the same boat, you and I. Both orphans, both outcasts. And Harry just kind of like,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Harry just flat out asks Hagrid, he's like, Hagrid, where are you getting all these injuries? What's going on? And then Hagrid literally just says, oh, it's from my job. You know, I've got a dangerous job.
Hagrid's a bad liar.
Yeah,
I'm
he
shocked
is.
Hagrid's been able to keep this secret so long.
I know.
I mean,
yeah,
what
me too,
secret?
girl.
We don't know what secret. Never mind.
Whatever's going on, we don't know.
Right.
So then Hagrid leaves, and just like I'm guessing goes back to his hut. I don't know.
Also, sorry. Wait.
What?
This man literally was like sworn to secrecy by Dumbledore to not say like what his mission over the summer was, and within 3 minutes told the entire story.
Told 3 15-year-olds.
but my brother being in the fucking woods, I will keep till my dying
to my
day.
grave.
What is going on?
Take it to my grave. So after Hagrid leaves, Harry sees Hermione waving at him from across the room. And she is sitting with none other than Luna Lovegood and Rita Skeeter. Rita Skeeter has returned. Hermione notes that he's there early, to which Harry's kind of just like, he's not going to go into it. And then basically Rita's trying to get information out of Harry. Hermione's like, leave him alone. They're like bickering with each other. Harry observes that Rita looks a bit rough from her time being unemployed. She doesn't look very put together. Hermione is talking basically just like anything Rita says, Hermione is just like not having any of it. So clearly Hermione is, although they've met with Rita, they're not friends. Hermione and Rita still hate each other. Rita points out that the prophet has run plenty of terrible stories about Harry without her help. And then she asks Harry if he's sticking to his story in terms of like what he said happened the night that Cedric died. She's like, you're sticking to that story where you're the only witness and, you know, you're going to just say all that happened where no one can verify that in fact did happen. And he's like, I wasn't the only witness. I can give you all the names of the Death Eaters that were there that night. Do you want them? To which Rita's like literally essentially like drooling, being like, I would love them. Yeah, let's go. And so then Rita keeps calling Hermione Little Miss Perfect, which I just was like, okay, I don't know. I thought we could have come up with a bit of a better insult there, but fine. She's like, oh, but Little Miss Perfect probably wouldn't want that story out there, would she? And then Hermione's actually like, I would. That's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to write the story about Harry and that night and what happened and word for word his like account of what happened that night.
I kind of like that she has no better retort than Little Miss Perfect, because I kind of like the idea that she's like like the quick quotes quill is what makes her a good writer.
Right.
Like she herself is not actually a good writer.
She's not clever. Yeah, that's funny. That's a good take. Meanwhile, while this is going on, I would just like to note that Luna is just like silently kind of singing Weasley is our king under her breath. Weasley is our king. He cannot save a single thing. Weasley is our king. Love it. Love you, Luna. So after Hermione says this, that she does want Rita to write. She wants Rita to interview Harry, giving his account of what happened that night. Rita's like, well, the prophet's not going to print it. And then Hermione's like, because Fudge is leaning on the prophet. And so we finally get confirmation from Rita. She's like, fine, Fudge is leaning on the prophet, but like they won't print it even if he isn't, because it's any story that paints Harry in a positive light is going against the public mood, as she said. So like she's like, they're not going to do it.
Which is crazy because like, Miss Girl, you created the public mood.
I mean, yeah. Rita did. She was the first person to write about Harry in that way. Yeah.
There was no public mood about Harry. I guess the general public mood pre-book 4 was just like Harry was the boy who lived.
Yeah, the boy who lived, yeah. And everyone was fascinated with him. So Hermione's like, I don't want you to print. I don't want the prophet to print it. We're going to print it in the Quibbler. So that's the plan. Even though the Quibbler isn't really taken seriously, to which that's really like drilled into our brains because of how Rita reacts to it. Like she's like, this is basically like the Quibbler is just like a laughing stock, basically. Hermione's like, well, I think it's worth a shot because a lot of people are wondering whether there isn't a better explanation than what the prophet just printed of like this mass breakout and everything. And she was like, I think that they would be interested to hear Harry's side of the story, even if it is published in an unusual magazine, because Luna's there, so she's trying to be nice. And then Rita is just like completely shocked by this because then Hermione reveals she's expected to do it for free. But the way that Hermione's going to get away with this basically is because she knows that Rita is an unregistered animagus, so she can blackmail her basically.
Also, what do you mean the Quibbler doesn't pay its writers? I was like...
know. This is why writers are on strike, girl.
Yes, honey. Strike. 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 Strike.
I mean, yeah, that was crazy to me. I was like, really? Okay. And then basically the chapter ends with Rita, just a regular pen, not her quick quotes quill. Rita's essentially ready to...
she
does use the quick quotes.
It's the quick quotes, yeah.
Yeah.
Bitch can't
Rita
write.
has her... She can't write.
She can't even spell.
It's all the quick quotes quill, girl. The quill is at the ready. It's ready to go. And Harry, we're to assume, recants his tale of that night. And that's it. That's the chapter.
All right. Well, that wraps up this chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 26, The Seen and Unforeseen.
Ooh. Sounds like a good one.
We have a review.
Oh, we do!
Yes.
Oh, my God!
It is
We're in our renaissance. We're coming back.
Yes, we're coming back, girlies. It's obviously 5 stars.
Oh, I see.
Obviously. It's from Rachel the Ravenclaw. The title is Slay. She says, I love this podcast. I had been looking for a HP chapter by chapter reread podcast that could bring new analysis into a much loved series while also keeping it new and interesting. And this is it.
Oh.
I love the new insight this duo brings, as well as their bits that become inside jokes among them and us listeners. Hey Girl Boss is still my favorite.
That's the best. We peaked on that episode.
It's all downhill from there. These two are laugh out loud funny and so accessible. This podcast is perfect for new fans of the series or old anxious millennials like me.
Oh my God. That is such a nice review, Rachel. Thanks, you. Rachel the
Rachel.
Ravenclaw. Oh, love. Thank you.
Of course, the Ravenclaw is looking for new analysis.
Yes, exactly. Very Ravenclaw.
Very on
Ravenclaw
brand.
of you, Rachel.
Thank you for the kind words. We love hearing what you guys think. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you... Do not start squeaking your toy.
I can't hear it.
You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and on Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so they can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you will have to suffer through the worst date truly imaginable.
Oh my God, yeah. You'll have to initiate every conversation with Harry.
Or
Torture.
your potted plant of devil's snare will kill you while you try to take care of it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HBAnxious or YouTube and TikTok at the Ampliverse. We are hosted on Spotify for podcasters, so thank you to them and are a proud member of the Ampliverse. Please check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Ariana.
Thank you, Adam.
And as always, pink is just a color, okay? It's just a fucking color.
I was going to say, Madame Puddyfoot.
Madame Puddyfoot.